That's a great question. There's a lot of things that prompted me to do it, but I was sort of like at a crossroads in my career, and podcasts were getting big, and I was really interested in it, and I was working for a marketing firm, and I was like, we should do podcasts for our clients. Why don't we do podcasts for our clients? I was talking to my boss at the time, and she was like, I don't know, Deb, why don't we do podcasts for our clients? And I was like, that ended up becoming my job, and I was doing podcasts for our clients. And then eventually I wanted to do podcasts like that weren't for our clients.
Right.
So I was like, all right, well, I'll study. And so I applied to the program and I got in. But the program at AU was really more music focused. And I was like, oh shit, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
So my kid's music teacher invited me to the studio that he was working at.
Right.
And to check it out and maybe assist on some sessions so I could get some experience.
Was it like a podcast studio?
It was a music studio.
Oh, okay.
Inner Ear, that's Don Zantara's studio.
Got it.
And so I got sort of brought into that world, and I really enjoyed it, and I got to know all these people, and then I sort of became part of a crew, and Alex was part of that crew. They were doing the radio show. So yeah, that's how I got
Very cool.
brought into it. And now I'm part of the radio show.
Top of the hour, we got some Black Sabbath coming on for you, and then following that, Leonard Skinner. So stay tuned. Here's a word from our sponsors. All right, hold on.
Casper mattresses. That's all I got. That's our sponsor today.
Sleepy's, man. Sleepy's is where it's at.
Is that where it's at?
Easton's Motors, where your job's
I
your
love
credit.
that Eastern Motor song. Where your job's your credit. Da, 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 da. At Eastern Motors.
Oh my God.
Your
You guys
job's
are the same person. It's weird.
Deb, can you talk for me, please?
I'm happy to talk for you.
Can you do an elevated speaking voice for me?
Hello, my name is Deb Editel. I'm graduating on December 17th. It's also my son's 11th birthday.
Mazel tov.
It's going to be the best day. I've actually never walked before. I didn't do it for high school. I didn't do it for my bachelor's. So this will be my first time.
I'm the same. I went to my high school graduation. I did not walk on my undergrad or my graduate.
Why didn't you walk on your high school graduation days?
Yeah, that's a good question. Why'd you do that?
Why I didn't, because I don't know. I just thought it was cheesy, and I was like way too cool. So I didn't do it.
Oh
and
my
now
God,
I'm not too cool.
All I could think about was like, man, I'm fucking done with this shit. I am going.
I didn't want to pay for the regalia either.
I've seen your photograph in the yearbook. I'm so, even though I got convinced to walk, but
I got a haircut and everything, man.
Yeah,
I was into it.
You into it?
I was like, well, because for me, high school, I fucking hated high school.
Well, I think that's what we're all saying.
Yeah,
we all
same.
did, yeah.
But I had like a pretty good time. You know what I mean? Like, but it was rough. Like, just not getting your ass kicked on the reg.
Yeah.
But like to leave, like, first of all, like I did really bad. Like I'm talking like D's and C's.
Yeah.
I did really bad. So graduating was not a surprise, but I was like, it was definitely. I remember my English teacher giving me. She's like, "You got a D-." And I was like, "Woo!" And she's like, "Are you happy about that?" And I was like, "I made it!" I was like, "I'm out here."
Where was high school? Where?
Marshall High School.
Here in
Tysons,
Tysons. And you? Where was high school for you?
Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas.
How's a Texas girl get all the way up to?
I did an internship.
Washington, D.C.
I did an internship at the White House.
Nice.
And I met my husband, and I
That's
stayed.
right. You were both. It's the Bush White House, right? Bush.
Indeed, I was.
Yeah.
I worked for the vice president's office, Cheney's office.
Ew!
I did.
So just so we're clear,
In the press.
Deb is on record as saying she worked for Satan.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Right.
the man who got away with shooting another man in the face.
Let's go with
Because he's
Beelzebub.
too drunk.
Trump is clearly Satan. So.
I don't know. I think Satan is more charming than
Yeah, you're
Donald
right.
Trump. Yeah.
He was the most beautiful angel in heaven, apparently.
Is that right?
That's right. That's what they
Beelzebub.
say. That's what they say. That's what they tell me.
Well, Cheney is quite lovely in person. Actually, he's very attractive.
Is he attractive?
I don't know. He just looks like a man.
Oh. So probably not attractive. I mean, let's be honest. There are pretty men, but there's no like if you say a man's handsome, like what are we saying? Like he's good breeding stock? Like, there's no.
No, I think like George Clooney like
I think he's a pretty man. Beautiful.
I think he's our generation's Cary Grant.
Well, I think we're talking. I think maybe we're saying the same thing because I think Cary Grant is a beautiful, pretty man.
Very, very beautiful.
Yeah, very beautiful, very pretty.
I don't know what Cary Grant looks like.
Oh my
What?
God!
You
Bring him
don't
up on
know
the
what
phone.
Cary Grant looks like?
Here.
You've obviously heard him talk.
So we'll just call this the show now. We're in the show now.
We're on the show.
So this is official. Hold on, I'm bringing up Cary Grant.
Right.
He is just a delightful hunk of man.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
It was, who was it? Pauline Kael, the critic, talked about how difficult it was to put him. You had to pair
Very
Cary
nice.
with the right woman because women had to go to him. And that's the way it was. Like, women went to him. They gravitated. Audrey Hepburn and Eva Marie Saint. They all succumbed, at least on screen. They succumbed.
Well, who could turn that
I
down?
did.
I mean,
I
look
think
at
it's all about
look
the
at-
charm. I mean, he looks like
Oh,
a
he
lovely
was.
man.
He was a charming guy.
It's the charm, though,
yeah.
that does it.
that brings me to my first question. Shawn, what is charisma? I mean, I know not the definition, but from Shawn's perspective, what is charisma, and is it something that can be taught?
Oh, well, we're on the green now with that one. That's a hell of a question. I'm tempted to go Harry Blackman, Justice Harry Blackman, on his definition of porn, which is you know it when you see it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what charisma is. Let's call it an intangible. No, it's not intangible. It's tangible.
Yeah.
Let's call it a tangible energy. Let's call it a combination of self-effacing humor, intelligence, wit, and the ability to read the room and the ability to empathize. I think you need smidges of all those things in order to be sort of recognized as charismatic. What was it Queen Victoria said when she there were two prime ministers she dealt with. One was Blackstone and one was Disraeli, and she said that when I talk to Blackstone, I feel like he's the smartest man in England, the smartest person in England. When I talk to Benjamin Disraeli, I feel like I'm the smartest person in England. And I think that's charisma, charm. Yeah.
I would add on to that or agree with that in saying that there is something when someone convinces you that you're the star. Yeah. That is charisma, right?
Easily, yeah.
Because there are the people, and it's sort of like this weird trite platitude of we wouldn't do this without you. You are the stars.
Right,
you're
right.
the stars. And you're like, whatever, and, But then there are those magical performers who, when they tell you that or they thank you for coming, and you're
Right.
like, oh my God, I think I did something good tonight. I went to the show,
Right.
And so, yeah, I totally agree with they make you feel like you're
And let me just correct.
star.
I said Blackstone. I meant Gladstone. I apologize for that. So yes,
I don't think
the listeners are
nobody listening to this show is going to correct you on your historical facts.
I knew. I knew.
Okay. That
You
son
didn't
of a
even know
bitch
what
said Blackstone.
You didn't even know what Cary Grant looked like.
He meant Gladstone. That son of a bitch.
I agree when somebody makes you feel special.
Yeah.
And has like a warmth.
Yeah.
That to me is some charisma right there.
Yeah.
For sure. We have some friends. They don't listen to the show, and I won't name them, but we kind of refer to them in our household as, "Are we going to invite such and such?"
Right.
The charisma sucks. They're like the opposite of
No,
charismatic.
there are those people who
They suck the charisma.
You work to engage with them, and you work to sort of get information out of them, or you're on your best behavior. You're on your best sort of hosting behavior. You're on your best, public engagement behavior, in that you're listening and you're asking questions. You're not making it all about you, but still, it's just work. Yeah, at work, it's hard.
There's a good Curb Your Enthusiasm where Larry is a good middler,
Right.
And he knows how to keep the conversation flowing,
Right,
keeping the different points and stuff. But then there was the bad middler who just stops everything dead.
Right.
And have you ever been on a bad first date, or maybe not a first date, maybe a second date, but where you're not working with each other, where like the wall is up? Have you ever been in that scenario?
Yes. But I mean, my dating life has been backburnered for over a decade now. I'm trying to think of like, I mean, we've all had bad first dates, but my bad.
Not me, 100% A+ all the time.
I mean, and I actually told this as a story on various storytelling stages. I once had a date in which a woman offered this information as if like she was saying that she got up this morning, that her apartment was haunted, and that ghosts in her apartment tried to have sex with her. And here it is. Sometimes she'd let them.
I mean, that's the least you could do.
That's the least you could do,
right?
If they're so persistent. I don't know. But like, and I say, those of you listeners who've heard me tell the story, my first question was like, well, how are they?
How did it go?
Are they good?
Yeah.
Are ghosts good in bed? Because
what are they into?
Yeah, what are they into? What are ghosts into? So no, I mean,
sheet play is what it's called.
Yes.
Sheet play.
So I don't think I've ever. I mean, you know it when you're on, and I'm going to confess, I was frequently told that I gave good date.
Oh, that's good.
That I listened, I was present, I asked a lot of questions. I didn't make it all about me. And an ex of mine once said something that I thought was very smart. She said, "My goal isn't to get you to fall in love with me. My goal on the first date is to get to the second date." And I thought, ooh, that's smart.
When do they fall in love? It's like
that's date number 3, of course. But yeah, I was told that I gave good date, and my opening salvo was.
Oh my! I was just about to ask.
Opening salvo was, all right. I would look across and I would say, okay, tell me your life story, but tell it to me in real time. Like, don't leave any moment out. I got nothing going on, and that sort of like was just, they found that disarming.
Man, that's a good question. If you had to start from first memory, where would you start, Shawn? You're on the date. Tell me your life story. Start with memory 1.
I will leave nothing out. I hope you have no other guests in the ensuing weeks.
We got 47 minutes we got to fill. Let's do it.
Well, one of my first memories was I was living in a row house with my mother and my younger sister, and the row house was just horrible. Working on the east side of Indianapolis, working class background, completely not privileged at all. And the house was old, and it had this closet that would like lock on you. And one time I accidentally locked myself in the closet, and I had to be helped out. So I guess that's a traumatic memory for me when I was young, because you're scared of the dark, and of course you're locking. There's no escape. It's kind of like, and here's the thing though, like ever since then, like the idea of, I don't fear the water. I don't fear heights. Being like buried or closed in closed off places. I'm not like classically claustrophobic, but those places kind of like I gotta manage myself when I'm in those places. So maybe the lay psychologists would say there's a reason for that. So
do you remember
what are we up to? Like
43
minutes now?
So Deb, if we had to start memory 1, where are we going to go?
Yeah.
Well, that's just interesting because I have a very like opposite memory.
Mm-hmm.
I had a bedroom, and I would often sleep in the closet because I liked how cozy and small it was, and I would write on the walls in the closet.
Very cool.
Yeah, I had this idea in places where my parents couldn't see, because I just like to be like snuck in there.
Right.
And I would write on the walls to whoever would like own the house next. Like someday when I died, they would read these notes, So I had all these little notes written inside.
Well, I have to hear.
The
What was one of the notes? What was?
Oh gosh, I don't even remember. It was just like, here lived, Dev, and I love this place, and I hope you love this place.
Aw, that's so nice.
My Barbies and my Skippers lived here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah. Wait, you didn't answer the question.
I will in a minute. I just want to ask this, just for the sake of our listeners who might be enjoying this. This is all true, right? You're not bullshitting me. You're lying.
True.
I did. So the other day, Deb and I, we were at a music show in DC. And we had a couple beers, so we got a little ornery and started to give each other shit for whatever reason.
I don't remember this.
And one of them, I said something to the effect of, Shawn's coming on the show on Wednesday. I hope you can be there. I'm really hoping that you guys can explain the difference between improving and just bullshitting to me. And so Deb got mad.
Did I?
Yeah, or mad, mad in the sense of like playful mad. And then, she's like, it is not bullshitting. And I was like, I don't know how it's different.
Right.
So Shawn.
No, you said it was funny. You said it had to be funny.
That was
Improv was
that's
funny.
a different conversation.
Oh,
We
okay.
can talk about that too. No, actually, now I remember it was that conversation because you said
Yeah, I knew.
I said something to the effect of, "Is it funny improv or regular improv?" And you said, "It's all just improv, Alex. There is no funny or not." Right. And I said, "Well, not funny improv is just bullshitting." And you were like, "It is not." And I was so Shawn, defend non-funny improv. Is it just bullshitting, or is it bullshitting and that's okay?
Well, I mean, improv takes place in one of two areas, right? It takes place, most of us know it as taking place on a stage with an audience. There's that sort of energy, that palpable energy that's there between an audience and a performer and an audience. Everyone has expectations about what this is going to look like. And so I think improv is it's the behaving and acting and engage and inhabiting personas and characters based on suggestions from the audience, and that could be anything. A lot of things can be improv. There's the classic improv games, the cabaret style that most people are familiar with on Whose Line Is It Anyway. Then there's more theatrical improv, which is you sort of take suggestions from the audience and create a mini story with a beginning, middle, and end. Right. The other place that improv takes place is inside the rehearsal space, and that's where improv has its origins. That it was used primarily by a lot of great directors, Broadway level directors and directors in Hollywood to help actors behave in ways that don't seem so forced and scripted and fake and insincere.
I'm a huge fan of John Cassavetes.
A huge proponent of improv. And he and Peter Falk and Gina Rowlands, all those people they believed in improv as an art form. They believed in improv as a way to make discoveries about the scene or discoveries about the character, those kinds of things. The Hollywood's the trivia is rife with stories of not just those directors, but Elia Kazan was big on it. Brando used it. A lot of the people from the Actors Studio would use it
because it's tied pretty distinctly with the method acting.
I don't know that it's necessarily tied to it. I know that they both sort of gained credence in the theatrical world at the same time. Lee Strasberg was big on using improvisation. But the improv, like the biggest proponent, the big sort of guru is a woman named Viola Spolin, who developed a bunch of rehearsal going on. I'm sorry, this is good. We're down to
let's deep dive
10
into
minutes.
This. Yeah.
Viola Spolin was famous for developing a bunch of improv. She called them games, theater structures, theater games to get her actors, and she ran a theater on the West Coast in San Francisco. Out of this sort of wave, like if you see movies, and there's no way we can see plays from that era, but you see movies, there's this sort of affected way of acting. I mean, some of it got transposed over to film. When film, you could see these actors behaving in certain ways that looks.
Deb was doing a movie character earlier today. Did you do a little bit of it?
No, I can't.
She was,
Katharine Hepburn was always like
it was
Kate Hepburn.
She was like, you go over that. You go over that.
Look, you go over there.
I'm doing an impersonation of Deb doing Katharine Hepburn.
But I'm not saying that Katharine Hepburn is a terrible actress. She's not. She's fantastic. But in the 50s, there was sort of this emphasis on reality, on a bad word would be sincerity, believability, and we like any art form, we sort of became impatient with this.
Yeah, well, the lighting
so that's,
too. They did they used theatrical lighting, which made for like the weirdest fucking sets ever. You know, and then people like sort of were like, oh, it's the noir style. And you're like, no, that's the shitty lighting style.
Exactly, right. Well, and something I learned rather recently is one of the reasons that when sound first came into being,
right.
Like, this is why a lot of movies seem very static as opposed to like the silent movies where there's constantly movement and Buster Keaton and the Keystone Cops are like running around, because the microphones like had to be like cemented next to the camera.
Yeah.
And so that's why there's these two shots of just people like at 3/4, like, Kate Hepburn going, you do this, and then they walk out of rooms and they reset. So when sounds came in, movies changed significantly because they had to have the camera.
Yeah. Well,
but let me ask you that. So bullshit is everything that isn't what I just talked about. To answer your question comprehensively. So is there ever a moment where I'm sure there is this moment, but talk to me about the blockers that people have to committing to the honesty that's required to be in improv? That's the blockers can be everything from, mostly it has to do with fear.
Yeah, give me the common blockers.
It's fear.
Let's help some people remove some stuff.
One of the things that I used to tell, I think I told your class, by the way, get in here. You're not talking enough.
I'll talk now.
Okay. But Deb has taken my class, and maybe you remember this, but one of the things I used to tell my class is, like, when it comes to improv, there are two kinds of people who initially at least have huge problems with it. And that the first kind is like stand-up comedians. People who have experience with stand-up, because they think that their job is to go on a comedic stage and do set up, punchline, act out stuff at the expense of engaging or listening to their scene partners. And that's not a fault that lies too deep for correction. You can play around with those guys and get them to understand that some of the people they think are funny were trained exclusively in improv. Will Ferrell, Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, Key and Peele, all those people, whose movies they see all the time were trained in this art form. So that's a pretty easy lift. It's the other. Let's call them. I don't want to be what the hell? Let's be sexist. Young men, in particular, have a problem with improv because young men hate looking uncool. And in improv, your job is to make yourself look foolish and to inhabit personas and characters or inhabit attitudes that seem foolish, outlandish, weird, crazy. Young men like looking cool all the time, and that's what young men cool voice, right?
Hello, kids. Hello, fellow children.
Hello, fellow children. Hello, kids. Students.
Are you going to the skating board park today?
The skating board park. YOLO. Yeah. So
I say YOLO. I get in trouble. The young people think it's funny when I say YOLO.
But yeah, those, and that's comes from, and they're not the only community that have problems with it. It's primarily fear.
We're talking ego here.
It's an ego, with young men, it's ego informed by fear. But everyone else, it's just they're afraid of looking foolish. They're afraid of being judged. They're afraid of
Well,
I mean, to get even seasoned veteran improvisers out of the habit of being jokey on improv, you have to say, look, your journey is similar to any actors who would go to study at the Actors Studio, or some of the theater in the Circle in the Square Theater, or one of the Pasadena Playhouse, wherever these sort of training grounds for great actors are. You got to be vulnerable. You got to be. You can't be protective of whatever this looks like, because you have to have access to those emotions. You have to be able to sort of replicate them on stage. It's just that's the way it is. So yeah.
And to tie it into the charisma discussion, you can look pretty cool, but if you are someone who cares very much about your coolness, that's going to come up.
People are going to they're going to read it. Yeah, they're going to see it. Yeah,
it's off-putting.
Yeah. Wait, did you answer the question about?
So my first memory.
Yeah.
So when I was not even a baby, I was in a space that I would describe as like, it felt sort of like red, pink, white-ish. And I was shown all these different possibilities of a life. They were like, how about, do you want this one? Do you want this one? Do you want this one? And I was like, no, I don't want that one. I don't want that one. And the person or thing that was giving me these options got annoyed with me because I was taking too long. I shit you not.
So this is an embryonic memory? Do I have that correct?
Or a soul memory or something. And then they were like, yo, you're taking that one. And they kicked me down this tube. And the next memory I have is like being in the crib and freaking out. You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there you go.
You've accessed a past that I will never, years of therapy or...
I've remembered it ever since I was a kid. And,
wow. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. And and I remember it very distinctly. They were just like, yo, you're taking too long. Get the fuck out. And I was like, okay. And I asked my mom about it one time and she said, that's wild. She's like, you were like 3 weeks late. Wow. And I was like, oh, that's wild. And she's like, so you were definitely like taking a little too long.
Very cool.
So there you go. Yeah, so that's starting it, if I were to do memories, that would be my first one. And then there was some memory of us going to Burger King really late at night. I remember that. Yeah. And then we watched the Archies the next day.
That was on
Sugar.
Saturday morning. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I dude.
Yeah. We're about the same age.
Yeah. We're both like 35. Yeah.
Spot on.
That was bullshit.
Nailed it.
That was not improv. That was utter bullshit. So.
Deb, you haven't talked very much. Tell us what do you remember the most about Shawn's class?
Oh gosh.
What memories stand out?
I love that class.
Enough about Shawn. What do you think of Shawn?
It was a great class. I don't remember why I ended up taking it, but it was walking distance from my office, and I just remember thinking, this sounds like fun. I'm a young person. I do things like this. This is before I have kids. And it was a great class. I remember being quickly disabused of the notion that like, oh, we're all here to be funny, and like actually this is a team sport and we're all playing off of each other, and you're not acting, you're reacting. And and I remember thinking, oh, that to me was really freeing because I didn't feel like I was performing, right? Like my brain space wasn't clouded up with the idea of like, what am I gonna do? It was like, okay, just listen, pay attention, and react. And that to me was amazing and really fun.
I'm glad you remind. I've forgotten that I used to say that, but yeah, I think the essence of acting, and not just improvisational acting, is reacting. I've always thought that good actors are good reactors.
Well, and from a perspective of mental health too, I think people who wouldn't consider themselves to be artistic or creative would find a lot of opportunity in improv to help themselves tap into something that might be holding them back.
Right.
And that I think is, because sometimes people are like, well, I could never paint a picture, or I could never, sing a song. It's like, well, yeah, but you can react to something honestly.
Right.
And that I think is creative in its own way. Mm-hmm. Or at the minimum, it's freeing. It's freeing because, you tap into something that you maybe are afraid to tap into.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was freeing, and it felt really good to like not kind of be trapped in your headspace. And I do kind of have like a little bit of anxiety or stage fright.
I immediately tuned in. I was like, anxiety, hang-ups.
There were okay, I guess you know me at this point. But there were moments too where I did see in a scene an opportunity to be funny.
Yeah.
And I did take that opportunity once or twice, and I looked for like, ooh, is he gonna be mad? But like, as long as people laugh, it was fine.
Yeah.
That's life. That's life.
This is the thing that like this is the thing that like often acting teachers get painted with, which is like, there's a rubric that you have to follow. And I think that as an instructor, all I'm really trying to get you to do is understand. And I think because you're sort of confronted with people who are like literally trying to be funny all the time, right? And those are the people I'm trying to like, no, you got to listen and react too. So I think if, when things like that happen organically in the context of the scene or in the context of a character, that's kind of what we're going for.
Well, and the laugh is bigger and better when you didn't expect it.
Right.
When you're waiting on the laugh, then it's a different laugh.
Exactly.
And it's not a bad laugh, but it's now we're in sitcom territory.
Right.
Which is like, now the seal time, and I clap and I laugh. And it doesn't mean it wasn't funny, but it's just a different laugh.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a different laugh. On a pie chart of Deb being a success in life, what percentage is based on taking the improv class with Shawn?
Oh,
What part of the pie?
I'm sitting right here.
I'm maybe like 99.8.
What? That's nice. Solid.
Head explodes gift.
Would you? We can't really make a direct call to action, but if people were interested in taking classes with you, what would they Google?
They wouldn't. I'm not teaching much anymore.
Why?
We're
learning a lot right here, buddy.
I mean, he already created this. Like, what else is there to do?
I'm Deb Edit.
How?
Setting right. I cannot paint another masterpiece. This cannot be done.
Did they ask Picasso to paint more than they did? Well, all right.
No one said, "Hey, Van Gogh, paint a starry night again." It can't be done. I'll try to clock through this really quickly. So I taught at the Improv for 12 to 13 years. And for a for almost that entire time, I was the exclusive teacher of improv. No, I'm sorry, for the last year, Chris Ulrich, who's just a sweetheart of a guy, we tag team on classes. But I left the improv to start my own improv comedy theater here in DC.
I read your bio.
Yeah, it's a lengthy bio that it is. And we closed it down a couple years ago so that my wife could take a job out on the West Coast, and which was a blessing in disguise, because if we tried to survive the pandemic, it would have been awful, right?
Some of us stayed behind. Must have been nice in the beach.
But I mean, like, a lot of theaters and a lot of spaces, a lot of those third place spaces closed down, sadly enough, because of during the pandemic. And we would have been one of those. We would have been on that long list of people who are doing that. But I did the math, and that's 16 to 17 years of platforming the creativity and the creative ends of other people, as opposed to actually pursuing my own creative goals, whatever they are now. And I'm not saying they're nebulous, but they're kind of like not as fully formed as I'd like them to be. The point is, at the Improv, I was teaching 3 to 4 nights / days a week, meaning two nights on the weekdays, and then 2 classes, at least 2 on the weekend.
What does burnout look like for something like that?
Well, I mean, for about my day job was in advertising, so I was a creative at an ad agency.
You poor thing.
I know, and if you've worked in ad agencies, you know that it's you're there at 8 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes you're there until 8 or 9 o'clock at night on some nights, right? And sometimes you have to work on the weekend. I mean, there was a period for about 10 to 11 to 12 years where I worked 7 days a week, nonstop.
So
it was like,
not to get completely diverted, but I can't help but think about this. So are you the reason that advertising got so weirdly tongue-in-cheek funny for a while?
Would that I were.
Yeah.
I would be a lot better off financially if that were the case.
Did you ever find because I imagine those pitch meetings, it's a lot of really bad ideas until finally someone doesn't hate the idea that you go with?
Well,
is that what it is?
Well, not in pitch meetings.
Okay.
It's in the sort of creative brainstorming that brainstorms the multiple ones that take place prior to the pitch meeting.
I'm sorry, I was misusing the term.
I will say this. I will say that from the late 90s on, a lot of the theaters that you know of at least the improv theaters, Second City, UCB when they were in New York, other places, had creative agencies. They would say, look, you need someone to think up some sort of way to present this as funny. We got people to Funny or Die was famous for that. They would people, instead of hiring Chiat Day, which is a big.
It blows my mind though, because I find some of this stuff funny. So Tim and Eric are a good example. They had an ad campaign with this purple mattress for a while,
right?
And it was fairly ubiquitous through the internet. And since I like alternative humor, I got served those ads a lot,
right?
And all I could think of was these are funny ads, but who the fuck would buy a mattress now? This actually makes me not trust the mattress company,
because they're resorting to Tim and Eric.
It's so bizarre. Well, it's because it's so inane. I'm
right.
do you even take I don't? Isn't an advertising supposed to tell me the facts? Like, so you're like, I don't get it. Like, I don't get it.
I'm wondering if maybe you've experienced. I'm seeing. Well, no, I'm seeing a lot of like traditionally brands are sort of leaning into the idea that they can be funny and cheeky and still be a trusted brand as well.
I think I would.
But I mean, if you're
irony and cheekiness, I wish would just die a horrible death. As it turns to advertising, because of course reality is filled with irony and cheekiness from time to time, and flirtiness is great. But when it's in advertising, like here's something that and this is only slightly related, but I'm going to go off on this tangent anyways. So I get served a lot of ads for bras in Instagram. I don't wear a bra. Mm-hmm. I don't ever plan. Well, I mean, someday I probably might need one. Right. But I imagine that it's probably sending me that because my eyes keep getting locked on women's cleavage as I'm scrolling through. And I stop, and I'm like, this is not an effective advertising campaign. I'm never going to buy the fucking bra.
I don't think that brands are indexing your eyeballs to that extent. But so here's the shift.
Oh, I think it's much worse than that. They're listening to this conversation right now.
Serving more bra ads.
I hope they're listening. Is somebody listening? That'd be great.
But I do think that brands have switched, or at least now they have to pivot to something new. But over the last 5 or 6 years, or 7 or 8 years, it hasn't been funny commercials on
Liberty
network.
Mutual Emu.
But it hasn't been that as much.
Liberty.
It's been brands hiring people who are funny on Twitter. To be their Twitter, to manage their Twitter feeds, because that's where
like the Wendy's Twitter.
Exactly.
Is
right.
Epic.
Right.
It's epic. Right. But now it's like it's weird because it's old hat. Like it's known as like.
And Twitter is cratering as we speak.
Yeah, I mean,
as we talk, 10,000 people have left, have deleted their Twitter accounts. Right?
Yikes.
Yeah. So,
I forget how do we even get on that topic? Oh, advertising.
Advertising.
So, are you responsible for cheeky advertising?
No. Let me just say for the record, I am not responsible for cheeky advertising.
Were there ever any moments in the brainstorming meeting that you had to pull someone back from something that you can remember? You were like, "Yo, you got to pull back. That's fucked up."
No, in fact, I think that in the shops that I worked in, primarily in DC, we kept trying to get them to go a little farther. And they would. I did a lot of work for Dominion Power. So if you were,
why do they need marketing?
But oh my God, because
it's literally the only game in town.
Well, no, there are other power companies, but you're right. What they needed was a brand reputation campaign, meaning
nice.
Because once every
we supply the power,
and they wanted an agency to give them cover fire if they're doing nefarious shit.
Of course.
Right?
So they wanted people to think that they cared about them.
Right.
Okay. So community.
Right.
We are into equity. We are diverse
diverse agency.
Yeah.
You can trust us when your power comes out. We're going to be there to turn it back on.
We're responsive.
We're not building pipelines that are going to empty into the Chesapeake. We're not doing anything like that.
We don't do that anymore.
We don't do that anymore. But like that's kind of why, like that's kind of how and why a lot of agencies in DC get hired, is because the brands themselves have like got legislation. And they want to make sure that they got. Look, you can trust us. We do good shit. I did all of the Intel print work for a couple years there. Like if you saw an Intel print ad out in on a bus station or on the back of
the chip manufacturer. Obviously they need marketing.
But and again, it's Intel's a forward-thinking brand. We give computers to poor.
So we have you to blame for
guy.
Bitcoin.
Yeah. If
you are somehow responsible for Bitcoin, right?
It's and microplastics in our water. It's my fault. I'm the guy.
So let's put some of these improv and advertising skills to the test.
Oh shit!
I want you to sell me on cryptocurrency.
Oh my God!
And Deb, you're gonna have to go too.
Oh, I have to sell cryptocurrency. I don't know anything about.
Sell me on the idea of cryptocurrency. Why I should invest in cryptocurrency. Shawn, go.
You want me to improvise an ad, right?
Yeah, do it right now.
Well, see, normally when you do an ad, you have like research and you know what the audience responds.
Well, look around the room. You can tell the demo. Come on.
I'm looking at this spreadsheet now, or this PowerPoint presentation that has. So all right. Honey, I can't find my credit card.
Oh no!
How am I going to pay for this goods and services that I like to purchase frequently online without my credit card?
I've heard of this new thing. It's called crypto.
What?
Crypto what?
What? Sweetheart, you're scaring me.
All right,
A
here.
crypt is something that we keep dead bodies in.
Crypto surrogacy.
I think you need to highlight the features, though. Like the thing. All right, so it needs to be more like, Shawn, I've been thinking about spending money faster, but it seems like cocaine isn't quick enough.
Well,
Is there a faster way I could go through my money?
Alex, I'm glad you asked. Have I got a solution for you? There's this thing called the blockchain. And in order to get attached to the blockchain, you have to have a cryptocurrency wallet.
And I hear you like cocaine. It is suited for purchases
You could
of
purchase
illegal
things.
drugs.
You could purchase illegal artifacts and goods and services all around the world using a currency that isn't regulated by any federal or state agency.
Regulated at all in any way, shape, or form?
Not at all.
And not at all backed by any reasonable security.
Of course not.
If the power goes out, it does not exist.
Next, precisely.
I've been looking for a way to spend money, but have it be tied inexplicably to computing power.
Well, have I got a solution for you, Alex?
Wow.
I've been thinking of a way that I could generate wealth and use as much energy as small countries.
Well, mining for cryptocurrency is actually a horrible thing for our economy or for our environment. But who cares? You could still buy cocaine and have it shipped to you online.
There's a great, it's just a one panel. I think it's a New Yorker where it's the gentleman in the suit and he's in front of the campfire and he goes, yeah. He's like, the world is all burned up now, but for one brief moment, we had an amazing amount of shareholder value.
Yeah, we had created a lot of value for a lot of people. I love that one. Yeah.
So I worked at a marketing agency once too, and it was once my job to do a sort of brand rehabilitation campaign after a pipeline exploded and killed a couple guys.
Sure. Yep.
That was the fun week.
So was your agency what do they call that? Not,
it's a PR agency.
Is that what's the phrase? I used to have this phrase on the tip of my tongue. Not rapid response, but
like a disaster response.
Disaster response, yeah.
They didn't specialize in
There's
that.
a phrase for it.
But for our company, this particular incident, they were already a client, was an opportunity for us to expand into that area. Right. So it was a very high.
Capitalism is amazing.
Client.
There are some PR and ad agencies in this town in particular that when brands have a bad day, they have a good day.
Can you imagine being that PR agency? Like, hey, listen, you're here, so we know you're not having a good day.
Right.
So we got some teas in the kitchen. Right. We got some donuts on the way. This is gonna fucking suck.
Oh yeah, it turns into a 24-hour operation.
Oh yeah.
That's
what
exactly
is that called?
happened.
Not rapid response. It's called something.
There is a thing.
There's a phrase for it.
All right, you speak while I look it up on the internet.
Right.
But I will say,
it's like emergency PR function. There's a phrase for it.
Yeah,
and
I would have known 10 years ago.
Yes, I would have known a few years ago as well.
Yes, but that became my job for like 2 weeks. It was like a 24-hour job.
Yeah.
And they gave me a spokesperson. They're like, this is going to be our spokesperson in the event of this disaster. And I was like, great. So I Googled the guy. And I got his arrest record. That he was, drunk driving and like hanging out of the car. So there was like an extra
like a photo of it.
Yeah, it was great. I was like, well.
And not only that, it was on his face. It was his profile. Here's me drunk hanging out of a cop car.
Yeah, so then it became our job to suppress those search results on top of everything else. It was an amazing, very profitable venture for us. But it was also very sad because, a couple people died. Lost their lives.
Yeah.
And that didn't sit super well with me.
Okay, question. Now, what if we point out that this is just one of the many times that people have, or this is only one time that people have died. There's been so many explosions where people haven't died.
Exactly.
Why can't we bring those up?
One time I wrote a sketch about a PR firm whose primary client, and this is going to seem so dated now because people have done far worse satires, but whose primary client was the KKK.
Sure.
And like the sketch was, the premise was myself as this one PR person and another person in the sketch troupe as another PR person on a call, but we're on like headphones, so we can't hear what the KKK point person is saying, right? And it's like, hey, Bobby Jack, Bobby Jack, yeah, it's Bidley Biddle Barrels PR. How you doing? What? That's great. But like we kept trying to come up with ideas. Like we were pitching him ideas. Like you're not anti-black. You're just vehemently pro-white. That's what you are, right? So let's reframe Bobby Jack. And
you got to use that wording.
Yeah, you got to use that.
All right,
right.
I don't know if that's gonna play well.
And and we were like, and your messaging, it doesn't play well in a lot of places, but it really spikes in southern Indiana and northern Idaho. They just love you there. They really just love you there, Bobby Jack. And so like we had like we maybe we could create a mascot like Sheedy. Sheedy is the mascot. Sheedy. And we could have him just a lovable. We could put him on like kids menus and on the back of the kids menus at a Denny's, right? Right. Yeah.
Make your own hood.
Make your own hood, right? So yeah, I could have
done Allie Sheedy.
Yeah, Allie Sheedy. Yep.
I'm Allie Sheedy, and I'm here to talk about the Knights of Columbus or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, they have a different. The KKK calls itself something. The Knights of something, don't they?
Yeah.
It's not the Knights of Columbus, though. I don't want to besmirch the good
name.
If that answer was on the tip of my tongue, be going like, "Hey, maybe you shouldn't be on this podcast."
You know what? If you had fired it immediately,
let me tell you, what? And their national headquarters is Bristol, Tennessee, and not only that, the membership is exactly 100.
Tell them Shawn sent you. They'll give you a discount on parking. Shit, have I said too much? So this airs on the radio, you say. All right, so we have about 10, 13 minutes.
Wow.
Let's talk about, for yourself, you talked about your creative goals, and you said they weren't nebulous, and you don't have to be specific, but be as specific as you want. What do you still, like, how much time do you have left, do you think, to do your goals, and what are they?
Well, not long. I mean, look at me.
I'm looking at you, and I'm wondering if you're going to make it out of this room.
Look, you better look, old dude. You better fucking.
I mean, I imagine, and the reason I ask is because I think about it.
For the record,
the clock is ticking.
The clock is ticking. I know I don't have.
For the record, Shawn looks great. Everyone should know.
You're very.
You do look healthy. Yeah, you do look healthy.
You're very.
You look exactly the same.
Let me ask you this.
It's true. It's true.
Shut your mouth.
When I saw
it's true.
You shut your mouth.
When I saw you at Tropicalia, would you have had a shaved head?
No, I would not have.
Oh, you know what? Then I might not have been.
It might have been another guy.
Another burner.
Yeah. We're everywhere.
It's like,
so I'm glad. So this actually has to do with my ability to do improv. So So one of the things my background, my education, and even my professional life has always been as a writer. Right. I have a undergraduate degree in English, master's degree in English literature. I've always had aspirations to write, but of course, various things happened and various, I won't bore you with the details, but like life has other plans for us sometimes. During the pandemic, I began work on a memoir, and the memoir is about my speech impediment. I'm a stutterer, and I've got the diagnosis and everything, and I spent a lot of years in my youth in relative silence because I was, I just like every time I opened my mouth, I would stammer or stutter. And again, as to just some, you're never not a stutter. It's like being an alcoholic. Once you're an alcoholic, you're an alcoholic. I don't even try to deny it, right? I'm a stutter. I still have problems. I still have problem words.
Oh, for a minute there, I thought we were having an intervention. I got a little worried.
I started like, look, Alex, back. Look,
wait, what the fuck are we talking about?
This is the reason we're here is to talk about your problem, not mine, my friend. Yeah, all right. But the thing about my stutter, my stammer, is that it turned me, especially in my youth, I would just listen to other people because I fetishized their fluency. Like they could, form sentences, effortlessly, and they would say whatever words they want, and I could not do that. So what I discovered very young was that I could be fluent if I actually talked like other people. Mm-hmm. So I, would like imitate people to gain fluency. Mm-hmm. And I think that skill, this thing this problem, this challenge I was saddled with when I was younger actually turned, let me put it this way. My first time on an improv stage, I knew I was born to do this. I knew I was just given, and everyone around me sort of knew this guy's, the kid's a natural. He's a natural, right? And I think it had to do with my stutter and how I could easily do different voices all the time. I could transmogrify accents and verbal tics.
Can you do the Rob Brydon Tiny Man voice? Do you know that one?
I haven't heard that voice yet.
Oh my God, it's
I can do a
amazing.
lot of different accents and voices.
Look it up, people. Look it up. I'll play for you after this. It's amazing. So
I can talk like
I don't want to.
I can talk like a Beatle if you want for the remainder. But anyway, long story short, I have a 78,000 word memoir dealing with my speech impediment that encompasses a lot of things, to include my improv, the sort of these it's in fragments, because that's the way sort of stutterers have no choice but to approach language. They piece it together as best they can, and it's also like emblematic of my personality. My personality is basically pieced together in fragments because my understanding of the world is I process it through language, and my language was fractured and fragmented to begin with. So if there are any agents out there or any publishers listening, I got a second draft memoir that you could take a look at, and I need representation.
I got a great self-publishing contact I can send you.
Cool. That's just what I need.
No, it's the woman I do a podcast for. She's had a lot of success with it. It's worked really well for her.
Cool.
Yeah, and
I'm talking big five, my friend. I need a big five. I need a big,
you want
huge
the real deal.
I want a big, huge
you want
advance. I want a book deal. I want on Oprah. I want the whole bit. So yeah.
So so you're reasonably famous at this point, right?
What?
You have like, you're not a nobody. Like, you are a known commodity.
Let me put it this way: if I had to market this book, and in the proposals, I actually took a class today on like how to structure your proposal. They talk about the communities that you can market this book to, and I have a couple built in that are already there. So,
I'll buy your book.
Thank you. So see, you hear that, people? You hear that, agents? I've got one already.
Double bite if you remember, if you remind her to buy it.
Right. And you don't have to hire an actor to do the reading. I'll read it. I'll do the.
I'll record your audio.
I have a funny story about that. So,
and I can talk like a Beatle all the way through if you want.
Lately,
it doesn't bloody matter.
Lately, we have been forcing the bands to go through a little bit of therapy session.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about how you have found your creative life when it doesn't marry well with your personal life? And I don't necessarily mean your romantic life, but just in your personal dealings. When do you find friction between like the skills that you employ as a creative person, as an improv person?
Oh my God. It's funny, you ask about where you could take classes with me, and I said nowhere.
Can't do it.
No.
I'm too in demand.
No.
Don't
and
call
the
me.
reason
I'll
is
call
because
you.
like people say, "Are you going to start the theater up again?" And I say no, because it almost fucking killed me, and I'm not hyperbolizing. I'm getting emotional even thinking about it.
It's okay.
That running that I would index my self-worth to how well the theater did month to month. We had a good month. I'm the fucking king of shit. Don't mess with me, bitches. We had a shitty month. My wife had to, peel me off the floor. Because it was just, it's awful.
I feel that.
It's awful.
I feel that.
So just because you are a creative, maybe you feel those things more intensely than others, but I had challenges running that theater. Let me put it this way. There are many things I should have been doing at that theater. Running the entire damn thing is not one of them. There's a great book called The E-Myth. Have you ever heard of this book called The E-Myth? Basically, it's like the person who has the creative vision and the momentum and the energy and focus to put an entrepreneurial venture in place is probably not the person who should be running it.
Absolutely.
Because that person is way too married
Yeah.
and can't step back from it and say, okay, maybe I should shave this offering, or maybe I need to expand here because that's where the customers are. Because he, she, or they is too indexed to.
Totally agree.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
So I think that's the challenge I face is the challenge that a lot of people face out there. So I just wanted to let you know I feel it.
It's not that I would say that it's not that creative people can run a thing, but it is exactly what you're saying, which is that they're just too close to it sometimes, especially if it's something that they really deeply care about.
Right.
And then you get into the losing the forest for the trees type situation.
Yep.
And at some level, there has to be a process person who's like, hey, there's the reality of what is actually doable in a day.
Right.
There's 8 workable hours at most. And
Right.
you're a creative person, so that's actually more like 2.5 workable hours
Right.
when we get you on a good day.
Exactly, right.
And so like that shit, you absolutely have to have a team.
Like
You
at my
absolutely
own
have to have a team.
theater, I should have been either the artistic director or the director of education, but I was both, and the head of marketing, and the logistics guy. I had everything from opening the doors to cleaning the toilets.
Yeah.
And that can tax you.
Well, and to your point, you get, because it is you. It literally is all of you. Like you're doing everything. So how would you not ride the high as you would?
True.
Right. You
True.
know. And that's another reason why you do have to spread that stuff out, the lows and the highs. Because share that shit around. Right. What about in terms of like your improv skills? Have you ever been called out for going into performance mode when in a argument with a partner, perhaps?
No, I don't. I'm trying to think. You have to go back to my dating life. I mean, I think there are probably people that I dated who found me insincere.
What?
Or who found me, or who. Well, here's so.
Were
my
you
wife,
talking like a beetle at the time?
I don't know why they would think that I'm bloody insincere.
I don't know what it is. That voice enrages me for some reason. Like, but the Beatle one, I don't know why.
That's a Liverpudlian accent, mate.
Yeah, can you maybe do George?
I think that's Ringo, right?
That's
a little
that's
right?
John. That's John right there.
That's John.
George was more like this.
Yeah,
talk like that.
That's good.
That's right.
I think maybe I just
Paul,
find
Paul was
John
way up here in the register, right? Hey, Paul was like, "All right, mate, to the top of most of the poppermost, right?"
Maybe I just hate British accents. I don't know.
So here's and I've actually told this story.
This is a good story to end on.
All right. So my wife and I, we started dating. Let me put it this way. We started dating in October of about 10, 11 years ago. And after dating for 2.5 weeks, she said, "Hey, I got these 2 tickets to Burning Man. I'm taking one. Do you want to go?" And she had gone the previous year, and she'd gone by herself, which is another story. She's an amazing story. And she said, "Do you want to go?" And this is like, we'd only been dating each other 2.5 weeks, and I thought to myself, I decided to go. And I'm going to clock through this really quick, but as I took that ticket, I said, this is either going to bring us together or rip us horrifically, violently, horribly apart, right? And we've been together ever since. But she has since concluded that behavior on my part was an anomaly, because even though I'm an improviser and I'm live in the moment and blah, 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 I'm actually more guarded than she anticipated. I'm actually less inclined to do things that take me out of my comfort zone than she anticipated. And I'm actually more, I do a lot of planning. I plan. I'm if in the couple dynamic, I'm the planner. She's not the planner. She her career far exceeds mine. So you do the math on that, right? So I think that in many cases, people may have been disappointed in the fact that my improv persona doesn't necessarily translate to my
like
person.
Celebrity disappointment or
Yeah,
something.
Exactly right.
I thought you were going to be so much more fun.
It's just a character I play, Alex. It's just a character.
Was that the same for you, Dad, when you met us on StageCraft? You're like, you guys just suck. You guys were, I thought you're so funny on the radio.
I knew that already.
Let's do the opening of the show real quick.